Hey, what's going on, everyone? Sly here with Flo. And Flo, Ryan Leaf was on a radio station in Sacramento, and I really liked what he had to say. I think this was probably the most direct to the media, him and Sean Salisbury, basically saying, dude, these guys, I don't know what they're talking about. It was interesting. What an interesting interview from Ryan Leaf. And he's someone, who's had his battles on and off the field, but someone who I respect, goes to actually church that I go to, and I have respect for him. I know he's dealing with stuff. We all are at the end of the day, but this is what he had to say about the whole Brock Purdy situation.
I don't get the skeptics. I don't understand it. I know how hard it is
God bless you.
to play that position. I think he's incredible. And I'm done arguing with people about it. You're not going to convince them. So I think that's the first thing, is there's an acceptance to it that you're not going to convince somebody that Brock Purdy is not an elite quarterback in this league because of where he was drafted. And that means people didn't scout him the right way, apparently. And no one's going to admit the fact that they didn't grade him the right way. There's a draftism to it. And so this is the way I'd say it. I say, you're an idiot. You don't know ball. And we're not going to talk about it anymore. And I said, if you're going to label him that, then you have to label Joe Montana it too, right? Joe Montana is a product of the West Coast offense and Bill Walsh. He was surrounded by extreme talent. He was a third-round draft pick. So, it wasn't him. It was Jerry Rice. It was John Taylor. It was Dwight Clark. It was Brett Jones. It was Roger Craig, who was the original CMC. All of those things you can attribute to that. In fact, there's no way that Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel are anywhere near what Jerry Rice was. So it doesn't fit its purpose in terms of what you're trying to accomplish there. He's an elite quarterback. He has a chance to win a championship. If he doesn't get hurt last year in Philly, I don't know what that game looks like. It could look a lot different. But he has a chance to win a championship, and he's gone back to 2 consecutive NFC championships. I made a big deal about Patrick Mahomes going to 6 consecutive. You look at the landscape of the NFC and what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have been able to put together. For as far out there as you think that getting to 6 championship games was such a huge achievement, which it is, Brock Purdy has every chance with the team that he's on, and because of how great he's played in his first 2 years, to continue that kind of effort and to put themselves in that position. I think that, the 24-hour news cycle and everybody presenting and contributing to content, sometimes people are just trying to be, argumentative, and sometimes I think that, we're arguing with nobody. I mean, actually, who's making those conversations, who's doing that? Most of the people I've talked to, especially former players, are very adamant around the idea that Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback, and Kyle Shanahan puts him in good positions and he makes the throws, and is a catalyst for this team. So I don't know. I think there is a lot to the concept of the fact that the people that are supposed to know what they're doing in terms of draft grades and everything like that, if he is the elite quarterback, he was a 4-year starter at Iowa State, started as a freshman, went up against my alma mater, Washington State, and Gardner Minshew in that unbelievable Alamo Bowl.
Yeah.
I knew how good he was then, and I watched him go through college in the Big 12. I mean, he was incredible. He was their leader. He was a great football player. And when Brian Griese had an opportunity to walk into John Lynch's office and Kyle Shanahan's and say, hey, if you're looking for a quarterback late, I can't tell you or speak to more about this young man from Iowa State. And that's exactly what they did. So I think it's a great story. I think it's the Kurt Warner story, and I love Kurt, and I love what he was able to accomplish, and how good he was at playing the quarterback position. And I think Brock Purdy is just, you're just born to play quarterback. And there was a moment where he had that reflection in college where he said, okay, I'm right where I'm supposed to be at, and I want to get to this level. I think the biggest misconception on my part is that I worked my tail off to get to the NFL, but when I got there, I thought, oh, my head and shoulders talent is just going to carry me through. When you get to that level, everybody's talented. You have to improve. You have to scratch it out and go, what was I doing when I was in junior high to get where I needed to get, right? My dad was waking me up at 6 a.m. to go throw routes and shoot hoops before school started. Why wouldn't you do that? It's a start over. And Brock Purdy started over. And he has gotten excessively better over the last 2 years at his profession. So he is not where the scouts and the people had him graded 2 years ago. He's where we all see him. And if you were giving him a grade now, and if you were somebody who's a scout out there that does that for the draft grade aspect of things, regrade him. Go watch the film from the last 2 years, watch the improvement, and grade him what you would grade him going into the draft. And I guarantee you, in the eyes of all those guys that make a ton of money projecting who is going to be a first rounder, would come back and tell you he is a first round caliber quarterback in terms of what a grade would show out now.
All right, man. So what do you think about Ryan Leaf out there pretty much, calling the media, a lot of these guys making 6-7 figures idiots, man?
Yeah, I know Ryan Leaf was never the biggest media person, especially when he was in his playing days. They kind of ripped this guy, so I can see kind of why he's not a fan of them. Mm-hmm. But in general, he's right. And I love how he went Ryan Leaf mode, pretty much told them what Ryan Leaf would say. Check this out. Knock it off! To pretty much guys like Nick Wright, who else is out there? Everybody it seems like right now, but pretty much saying like, man, these guys don't know shit. But if you look at the players, besides excluding Cam Newton and Ryan Clark, like these guys are like who are actually know and understand the game. Like he's like, look, these guys truly get it, and they're all riding with Brock Purdy. It's just these analysts from ESPN, Fox Sports, any sort of like blog places that are the ones who are always ripping on Brock Purdy. They don't give him credit, which is crazy because he even says he's like, usually guys who are in Brock Purdy's situation, they try to make these guys poster boys, the Kurt Warners, the Tom Brady's, but for some reason they're just like really hating on Brock Purdy. Maybe because it does undermine like their whole draft analysis thing. These guys don't like admitting that they're wrong. But if you compare two guys, I'm going to compare him to Johnny Manziel because obviously body frame, they're a little bit on the tweener side, smaller guys, Like
he's bigger though.
But he's stronger, way bigger.
I think Johnny was 5'11". Yeah, Brock is at like 6'1".
But still, just a smaller quarterback in general. Maybe Drew Brees, but
sounds
but just in general, like it just seems like you would want to go for this guy. Usually you want to root for the underdog, but for some reason they don't. They just want this guy to completely fail, and Ryan Leaf pretty much touched on that. So I like the take by Ryan Leaf, but what do you think, man?
Yeah, man, this was actually something when I was listening to it, I had to watch it again. I had to listen to it again because I was like, oh man, I really like what he's saying out there because he's like direct about it. And him and Sean Salzberg to me are my two favorites right now, just the way they talk. And both of these guys, say what you want, but Ryan Leaf, he was in the league for 6-7 years because he was with Tampa Bay also when he left. So he was in the league for a while, and Sean Salzberg 10 plus years too. So I mean, these guys know more than the average Joe out there. And pretty much Brock Purdy's doing his thing, and exactly right, man. How basically you got to say the same thing about Joe Montana then, because Joe Montana had just as many weapons out there. Not the first go around, the first two Super Bowls that was on his own. But the other ones, he had freaking talent out there. So it's crazy, man, that all these people are just talking the trash. But I'm glad that these quarterbacks out there that actually watch the film, they know exactly what's up, and the fact that we're not celebrating it. We're this guy like, oh man, what he's doing is amazing. It's so weird out there that these guys that are making the most money, that's a sad part right there. The guys that are making 7 figures out there are the ones that are ripping them, and the guys that are like on the radio shows that are making that type of money, they're the ones that are having to defend these guys. So it's weird how the rich dudes that are making the money are just just doing that crap that just doesn't make sense at all. So I think that hurts too, because you look on Twitter, like the fans of other teams, they listen to what the media says and they're like, oh yeah, they're right, Brock Purdy sucks. But they're listening to these guys, these freaking dudes that don't watch the film, the other guys that watch the film, the JT O'Sullivans, Chase Daniels, that do like hours and hours of breakdowns. These guys, there's like, dude, Brock Purdy, he's like legit, he's like a badass quarterback. But these other guys just that don't watch the film are just like, he sucks. He's just a product of the system. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. But hearing Ryan Leaf, man, I was just like, oh, all right, man, this guy, he knows what he's talking about, and he's a dude that's been there. He admits it. I didn't put in the work like when I was in the NFL. I thought that my talent was going to be good enough, and looking at Brock Purdy, someone that puts in the work and goes crazy, how good he is compared to how he was 2 years ago. So it's good seeing these other people out there that know exactly what this dude is, man.
Yeah, that was a big thing I took away from this, was how he was saying how pretty much every year Brock Purdy kind of restarts from zero and just builds himself up and builds himself up even better. Pretty much how he was saying, he's like, dude, this guy came off a freaking UCL injury, and he came back better. Like, how is that even possible? But he's like, it's because this guy knows how to do that hard work when nobody's watching. He's just putting in that time. He was comparing it to like almost when you go back to your middle school days or high school days. He's like, well, nobody else is there. Like, you're going out practicing with your dad, throwing the ball and stuff. He's like, that's what Brock Purdy does. Maybe because he is that later draft pick that he didn't have that kind of thing where Ryan Leaf was saying, like, he came in and he was that guy already.
Yeah.
But everybody's that guy in the NFL, so you got to figure out things that make you even better, and that's what Brock Purdy has been able to do so far. He's been able to make himself that game changer just by the amount of either film study he does, the practice he gets in. He just has that thing that makes him want to be great, you know?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me like the guys that are ripping him like Cam Newton. Cam Newton is like that very beautiful girl that you have in front of your friends. You're like, yeah, dude, I got the one, you know. But when you're two alone at the house, she's a straight up bitch, man. She's talking down to you. She's treating you like trash, and you're like, damn, kind of taking your masculinity away. And then you have Brock Purdy, you know, someone like that. Who's that one on TikTok? Anna Fry, that one that looks just like Brock Purdy, kind of like that, you know. Pretty girl, nothing special, but she treats you right, does all the right things for you at the house. She cooks for you. It's like a perfect situation. That's how it is right now, man. We have like the perfect situation right now, but everyone just wants to look at the big arm, 6'5", that's how tall you are, how fast you are, all these intangibles. At the end of the day, man, all that matters right here is this, man. I'm glad we have Brock Purdy. We could have someone that's so fast like Lamar Jackson, but he's out. We could have someone with the strongest arm like Josh Allen, but he's out of the league. So, I mean, to me, Niners have the perfect situation, and I wouldn't honestly... I'll probably like pick 3 other quarterbacks in the NFL right now to have running my team. And Brock Purdy, man, I'm blessed, man. I'm so blessed to have such a smart dude and a dude that out there. And he even says straight up, it's not about me. If my life was about myself, it's such a shallow life. It's about other people. And he talks about it's about my teammates. It's about exactly. So I'm like, dude, that's insane right there. So he's way beyond his years. And with this, the way he is, his mind, he's going to get even better, man. So I'm just pumped.
And then I feel the only reason you might take 3 quarterbacks is just because right now it's just experience. I think you would even take him over the other guys just because he is so young. He's going to have time to develop and become even better. Where these other ones, like you said, with the big arm, big legs, that's eventually going to go away. Just like that hot chick, you know? Eventually she's going to lose what really makes her hot down the road, you know?
Yeah.
No offense, chicks out there. Keep doing your thing. But eventually time comes for everyone, right? But this allows you to play longer. Tom Brady, what was it, 40 years he was able to? Because he was the smartest guy out there. So he's able to, or LeBron James in basketball, they're able to figure out how to play a different style of game besides just the physical. They're able to play that mental game, and that allows their career to be extended by maybe, like 3 to 5 extra years.
And Brock Purdy, he talks about, he's like, you know what? I'm not the biggest or strongest, but I'm going to be working the hardest. Like, I'm going to be training, like doing everything. So he's doing all the things right. You know, he's not someone that's out there, you know, going out partying, living it up. You know, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do any of that stuff right there. Kind of about Tom Brady. Tom Brady was so disciplined in the offseason. You know, he would always eat good, always train. So, I mean, he has a lot of those Tom Brady's intangibles. And obviously his first love is obviously his faith. But he even talked work is important. Like, work is good. It's good for the soul. So I'm always going to be working hard. So, I mean, he does all the right things. So, I mean, I'm excited not just for this year, for the Super Bowl, but for years to come, man. I think he's going to get us one, I believe, this year. But down the road, I think he's going to get us more, man.
Yeah, man. And it's just so important because even guys who are like talented, who have won Super Bowls, like Aaron Rodgers, he was able to get that one. But then on the offseason, he's doing all that, like, ayahuasca stuff and all this crazy stuff, and it seems like he just like lost it, you know. And that just messed with him mentally, so he hasn't really been that Aaron Rodgers that we grew up with, you know. Where Tom Brady and Brock Purdy, it's just like they understand the importance of keeping yourself healthy and just doing everything in the offseason that you possibly can to come back better the following season.
Yeah, and you know, the NFL is taking notice because they're looking at they're getting mad because the Niners, we saw today in the meetings that the owners were getting pissed off the Niners for getting all these comp picks. They're mad at the minority picks. They're mad that we're getting all these comp picks. The reason we got Brock Purdy was because of C.J. Beathard, a comp pick, you know, the last pick in the draft. So everyone's taking notice to what the Niners are doing, and it's amazing, man. Hopefully we keep this up and get that Super Bowl and keep surrounding Brock Purdy with more and more talent, because obviously when he gets paid, you know, we're not going to have as much the same dudes, but if we could keep this rolling, give him the same give him some talent, give him a better offensive line, he's going to get better, man.
All right, well, you guys let us know in the comments what you guys think about what Ryan Leaf said. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. See y'all next time.
Peace.